Hey guys, Shawn Ziem, the Connection Machine, aka the Insurance Doctor, and the host for the Webtalk Legends Podcast. This is number 65, and it's all about listening to our guests share their story and learning from what they've done, their trials and tribulations, things that have happened to them. We're going to discuss health, parenthood, entrepreneurship, daily disciplines, you name it. And I hope that you check in, you take some notes, and if things that you're applying or implementing from our conversation, definitely come back to this video and drop a comment. A couple housekeeping things. If you're watching live, and if you're nervous and all you do is watch podcasts or you watch videos, the least you could do is drop a hashtag live in a comment. If you're on the replay, hashtag replay. The other thing, if you are one that's more boisterous, you like to be engaged, which is great for us. Drop a comment where you're watching us from. And on top of that, if you are involved in an entrepreneurial type of business, drop your website. We'd love to connect and network as well. So let me bring on a great friend of mine. I call my best friend, man, David Maver. What's up, brother? How are
How's
you?
it going, Shawn? How are you, man?
This is something. This is going to be a lot of fun. A lot of people, you know, don't have a chance or don't take me up on this because they're afraid and they have that fear of, well, what happens if I say something wrong and it's live? We're not gonna do that. It doesn't happen.
I hope not, right?
And if it does happen, it's all on you, buddy. So
That's
no,
true.
this is going to be a lot of a blast. We have a lot of people popping in. Again, if you are joining us, definitely drop a couple comments so we know you're here. So we know we have some. I don't know who a gamer pup is, but we got a hello. We have a live from New Zealand. This is a global platform from Webtalk, so we're going to see a lot of people from all over the world, Australia, New Zealand. So we appreciate everybody. Sit back and enjoy. Dave, can you give us an intro of who you are and what you do?
Sure. First, my name's Dave Maver. First off, I'm, a father and a husband. That's the first thing I am. I'm married to my wife, beautiful wife, Kelly. I have 5 kids that range all the way in age from, 7 to 24. So I run the gambit. I got huge spread out. My kids are almost 20 years spread out over one another. So I've been parenting for way too long at this point. And I teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for a living. I own my own Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu academy, Renzo Gracie Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in Warwick, New York. And to me, the Renzo Gracie lineage is the best lineage out there.
No, it's definitely something that I know, are very, very passionate about. You give your all. You're all about helping others, and you've fallen in love with that for a while now. For how long did it take you to get to the black belt level?
It took a long time. So, I mean, I started training jiu-jitsu in 1999, late 99, early 2000 at Renzo Gracie Main Academy. When I, first started, I was just like every other, person. I was in high school, and I remember my old man was a huge influence on me. He was a huge boxing guy. I grew up boxing and doing other combat sports. And I remember the first UFC came on, and my father used to get every, Mike Tyson pay-per-view, or every, I remember he used to like Julio Cesar Chavez, every pay-per-view boxing. And this weird fighting thing came on, and we watched it together, and this little Brazilian guy wins. And I'm like, man, that can't be real. Like, there's all these big jack dudes. Like, how'd that little Brazilian guy win? And then it happens again. And then I'm like, all right, now I'm starting to get interested. And I kept saying to myself, man, if he beats a wrestler, like, I'm sold, and then he goes out and he beats Dan Severn. And I'm like, that's it. I'm sold on this jiu-jitsu thing. I got to learn this any way, shape, or form I can learn it. And it's just, it's going back now. By the time UFC 4 rolls around, maybe 95, 96. And there was no availability for it. You would learn by buying tapes and Black Belt magazine, but there was no qualified instruction. And I didn't live in a major city at that time. And then finally, I was able to make the commute to New York City when I got old enough. And then I would just go into New York City and train jiu-jitsu. And that's how it all started. And that's where, the passion started. And it's never left. And now I'm, what are we in 2023, 24 years later? I'm still as eager and still as excited about, training jiu-jitsu, teaching jiu-jitsu every day.
Yeah, you wake up and you live and breathe it, and you roll in that sweat after your training.
That is true.
it's definitely something that you love, and it's great, and you can see it, man. I've known you for a long time, and I know that's something that you wanted to be around, full time, and you finally were able to achieve that dream, and you continue to just keep crushing it. Now you have groups of kids, you have teams that are going out into different tournaments, and a lot of that great stuff. But before we even get into that, like, what about like before jujitsu, before teaching? What were some of the jobs you had back then?
Oh man, I've worked, I've actually been pretty lucky. I'm not gonna lie. Like one of my first jobs ever was in a pet store, right? So like I took a job at like a pet store. It was like a Petco or something like that, like a chain, one of these chains, and I did that for a living. And then I ended up at some reptile store for a short stint, and then I got extremely lucky. Yeah, I started working at in fitness gyms and health studios, and very soon after, a lot of people have had like a lot of bad jobs. Pretty soon after, I met a guy named Martin Rooney, who is the greatest, strength and widely recognized, not just in my eyes. I mean, I recognize him, and I think he's personally the best strength and conditioning coach, speed coach in the world. But a lot of people do that as well. So I got lucky enough. I didn't have too many like shit jobs. Sorry, I'm allowed to curse enough, but
Oh, this
I
is
had.
real, man.
I had, a lot of, I never went through that where I had a ton of really bad jobs, and I got lucky. I met Martin. I started working for Parisi Speed School and doing strength and conditioning stuff, working with athletes, working with young kids. And I did that all the way straight up through till I started teaching.
No, I know you incorporated a lot of the speed training and all that, like high level type of training into a school district that didn't realize what they were really getting, which is like, it's powerful.
No, it wasn't. I remember, we worked, we taught at, it's, high schools in Patterson. And that was one of the first things, I did was I had the kids doing speed training, and you'd be there as well, in the weight room with us. And, we'd be lifting with these kids all the time and doing speed training with them all the time. And a lot of these kids didn't have access financially. They didn't, have the resources to be able to do and pay for that type of extra training. And, I was lucky enough to be able to, meet them and be able to integrate it and teach them. And I think, there's a lot of kids who benefited from it and who learned a lot about speed training and strength training and learned how to take care of themselves that otherwise would not have that opportunity.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. I want to pause for a couple. We have a bunch of people popping in here. Owen Lynch. Hi,
Oh, I know.
Professor
Oh, yeah.
Dave. We have Talk with Zoe is one of the coaches in the best coach in the game. Your mom's on. We have who else? Andrew.
Oh, I know. I know Andrew too. Yep, he's actually one of my best students. He's fantastic. He's actually in California right now, and he's I don't want to get it wrong, man, Andrew, but he's doing the Pacific Rim Trail right now. He's not to get too much off on a topic, but he reminds me a lot of myself. Not to go too off topic, but I had a very stable job, a very easy job. I was a health and phys ed teacher in the public school system, and I was vested into it, and it wasn't a bad job. I loved doing it. I can never say I had a bad day at work. It was an easy job, and I enjoyed it. And the hours were easy. I worked 9 to 3 and whatever it was, 7 to 3, but it wasn't my dream. And my dream was not to be that. My dream was to open up jiu-jitsu school. And I remember when I told people, I'm like, hey, listen, I'm going to leave a really stable job that I've got 17 years, 15 years, whatever it was, invested in, and I'm going to open up a jiu-jitsu school. And people are like, man, that guy's an idiot. Like, and Andrew is following his dreams right now. And, he's up on Pacific Rim Trail going from, I don't want to screw it up, man. I don't know much about the West Coast. Other than I went to Disneyland a few weeks ago. But he's going from the very southern tip of California to the very northern tip of California hiking. So, his story itself is very inspirational. Same thing. He had a very stable position, and he's following his dreams. And again, fantastic student of mine. He's unbelievable. He's extremely talented.
No, thanks for being here, everybody. And thanks for sharing that. And it goes to show you, a lot of people, when you have a dream, you can still achieve it no matter how old you are, how many kids you have. You can still make things happen. A lot of people make excuses, right? Oh, I don't have the time. I have kids. I can't do it. But you made it happen. But now here's a question. You're an entrepreneur, right? You have no guaranteed money coming in.
Correct.
you had to set up a whole jujitsu academy. Nobody has like a book with this. How did you get this set up?
Once again, well, first off, imagine this conversation. I got 5 kids, that all depend on, myself for a living. I wasn't a midlife crisis or anything. That's what I wanted to do for a living. But like you said, talk about a gamble. Like I was going from stable income, which making pretty good money. My family depends on, I have a house. I'm older. Like you said, people make excuses. They're like, oh, I can't do this right now. My family depends on it. And I said, my family depends on it. That's why it's going to be successful. When I opened up, but long story short, that's why, I followed my dreams, and I was like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. Life is too short, and it is risky. There's no doubt about it. But if you're going to bet on anyone, you bet on yourself, and I knew I would be able to come through. And then as far as the blueprint, again, Shawn, if I walk into a room and I tell people, I'm like, hey, everybody here who's ever had a bad influence or a bad coach or a bad mentor, raise your hand. Everyone's hand goes up, and that's never happened to me. Like if you break it down and you look at, the people who were mentors to me, it was Martin Rooney, again, the best in the world. Like these guys aren't like just average. Like this, I consider myself the luckiest guy in the world. Like that was the first guy who I really started to learn from, was Martin Rooney. He was the greatest strength and conditioning coach. Then we go there, right? And then jiu-jitsu wise, the first person I met with jiu-jitsu was Alan Teo. Awesome guy, another Renzo black belt. He owns Renzo Gracie Fort Lee. But my first real instruction was at Renzo Gracie Main Academy, and it's Renzo Gracie at that time. It's John Danaher, it's Matt Serra. It's all the great names in jiu-jitsu were the instructors there at that time. So when you actually break it down, like I've had such great influences and great coaches. So although I didn't have a blueprint, I had very good mentors. Jamal Patterson. I had so many very, very good mentors that I had seen do it. And I had very good guidance from, how I saw them run their places. And then I implemented my own style, like I have my own individual style, and I do things kind of like my way. And, that's also why even when I did it, I didn't want any business partners because I knew how I wanted to run my academy.
Right.
And I didn't want to have to answer to anyone and have to, say, hey, listen, we got to do this for money or we got to do that for money. And I just took all my years of coaching. The only thing I've ever done has been a coach pretty much. Like I said, although I'm working at that pet store, I worked at Parisi's. I was a speed strength coach. Then I became a school teacher. So I was used to teaching and coaching then. And that's the only jobs I really had that I considered my real jobs was speed strength coach and then physical education health teacher. So my whole life I had been prepared since I was 20 years of age. I had been coaching and teaching people. So when I opened up, I think, yes, I didn't open up until I was, about 40 years of age, but I don't know if I would have been successful, because I went into it. How many people go into it 20 years of legitimate full-time, 40 hours a week minimum of coaching when they open up a business? So that's kind of what I had.
No, like Dave said, you have to have mentors and also be around a circle of influencers. Whoever you hang out the most with, you're going to start becoming them. So that's why I allowed you to open up and now tweak your own academy to make it yours, which is fantastic. It's something that is a dream that's come true, and I see it every day. And you're using social media, you're putting things out. You never did social media before. And that's a whole other conversation, which we can go down as well. But it's something that a lot of people have to understand. It's a chance you take, but you also, if it's something that you really love and you have the why, you're going to be able to push through no matter what.
100%. For like you mentioned social media. I didn't have social media. That wasn't on a day in my life until I started to open up the business. Once I opened up the business, people were like, man, you got to get social media. You got to get out there. And I went out there. My wife and my daughter, my teenage daughter, were extremely influential in getting me how to function on social media. Like I remember I couldn't even work Instagram at the time, and I was there like hitting buttons. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And like my teenage daughter would be like, what are you doing? Like this, it takes 5 seconds to do this. Why is it so hard for you? So both her and my wife really helped me out with the social media. And now we have a good social media presence. And this is stuff, again, I never stopped learning. I mean, I didn't learn about
Right.
social media until I was 40 years old. And, I've gotten pretty good. I'm not great at it yet. I mean, there's a student of mine, I don't know if he's watching, Raph. He's like an expert at it. But I mean, everybody who's tuning in knows who he is. But, he probably looks at me. He's probably like, man, this guy knows nothing about social media. But listen, it's a lot better than what I did.
That's like me. I never did video before, and I did it, 2018, I started doing video. And it's changed my whole business for insurance, for everything I'm doing, and I was older. And it's the same thing. You have to take a chance, always be learning, and seeing how it can develop into something amazing if you just be consistent with it. Just like your health and fitness. You're into training, right? Into the weights, into, putting your health in check. How important is that? It's your life, right?
Of course, for me, I have, 5 kids, and my goal is to not live as long as I possibly can. My goal is to live a healthy, to be functional as long as I possibly can. So I want to make sure, when I hit 70 years of age, I'm still vibrant and still moving around. I honestly want to be one of these guys that you peel off the mat. I would be completely fine dying on those mats when I hit the ripe old age, whenever it's ready. And like I said, a lot of that comes down to health. And, every day, I take care of myself. I train every single day. I've never missed more than 2 days of physical activity, including illness and everything else. I can't remember ever, other than maybe I think one time I was hospitalized, but I've never gone 2 straight days in a row without being physically active in over 20 something years. Every single day I grind it out and do it. And it's funny because sometimes people are like, man, don't you sometimes feel like you don't want to work out? I'm like, no, I've never had that. I get up every day and I'm like, man, it's the greatest part of my life is training jiu-jitsu, and I like all fitness, I go rock climbing with my kids, you haven't seen it yet, but it's pretty insane. I have an entire ninja gym in my backyard now.
I saw pictures of it.
I showed you some of it. So,
yeah.
I just love taking care of myself. I like to push to see how far I could possibly go, because I'm not a young man anymore. I'm in my mid 40s now, and my goal is still be able to hang with the guys in my room. And that doesn't mean I have to beat them. I mean, these guys are 20-year-old kids, I don't have to beat them, but my goal is to never be an easy out in that room. And that includes when I hit 50, 55, I still want to be, physically fit. I still want to be able to do everything I can. And a lot of it comes down to eating right. A lot of people often tell me, oh man, you're this, you're that, you're lucky. I say, no, I've had 2 alcoholic beverages in 24 months, that I don't touch alcohol. I have no vices. I train every day, I eat right. And I live, what is not included and people usually overlook is, in your health and fitness is, I live a very reduced stress lifestyle. I have a very trusting wife. I have a wife who's very caring and very easy to deal with. I don't come home to a stressful situation. It's, think about my life. My life, I don't want to say it's perfect because none of us have perfect lives, but I get up every day, right? My day starts, I got to go teach jiu-jitsu. That's what I've loved to do. That's my dream. I go there and I'm surrounded by young guys and older guys that are highly motivated. I leave there. So I'm so excited to go to work. Most people hate the drive to work. I love my drive to work. And then when I come home, same thing, my drive home, I've got an awesome wife. I got an awesome family at home. And then when I drive home, same thing. I'm so eager to go to work. And at the end of the day, when my day's over, I'm so eager to come home and see my family, and I'm very lucky in that regard.
You are one that works hard so you can be around your family. And that's an important thing. A lot of people are like, oh, I want to make all this money, but they're never around their kids. It's like, come on.
Yes.
Man. It's something that you have to have some kind of sacrifice. Now we talk about parenting. You have 5 kids. I got 4 kids. I'm not competing with you. I am.
That means I'm one crazier than you.
What is some advice you can give those that are watching about parenthood? With entrepreneurship, and something that we could help those that are watching.
Listen, it's tough. I'm not going to lie. The work-life balance is tough when you're the owner. I'm the owner of Enzo Gracie Warwick, and I have a job where I love it, but I am in demand of other people's time and attention. And first off, before parenting, you have to have a significant other, in this case my wife, who understands that. My wife understands that my job is a high in demand job. Like I am going to be in need all the time. Like weekends are gone, and if we're eating dinner, I will pick up the phone. We got, I always have to do that. As far as parenting goes, my biggest thing, for my kids is lead by example. I'm look at I train every day. I can sit here, I can tell my kids to do something, but I live a very clean lifestyle. I have a very low stress life. I followed my dreams. Yes, I'm in the gym a lot, but I've set the tone like, hey, this is how you got to be. Now, I'm lucky in that, my three boys are with me all the time, so although I don't get to spend a ton of individual time with them, I get to spend a lot of what I consider group time with them. So the three of them are at the gym all the time. My little two are always there, and Damien's always there. So although I don't get a ton of that one-on-one time, it is in a group setting. I do get to, you see them quite often. My daughters, I don't get to see quite as much. So that becomes a little bit trickier because my one daughter is in college, so she's away in Texas. She's home now, so that's that makes it a little bit easier when she's here. When she's away, it's tough. And with my other daughter, I try to get her into jiu-jitsu. She trains a little bit, doesn't train as much as I would like her to. She's over at she does. It's not like she's not doing anything. She's out doing gymnastics. Very smart kid. So I try to get as much time with her as I can on the weekends, because I have to make the time, because sometimes it may appear as like there's favoritism, because anything that boys do, I'm usually coaching other people. So I have to be there. Whereas every single thing my daughter does, I don't get to. Sometimes it conflicts, and it's not that I'm favoring the boys over my daughter. It's that I have to be there. There's other people there besides my own kids competing. And as far as like advice for parenting is, it's for me, it's value your time. When I come home, I make sure I talk to my kids. When my kids get off that school bus, I make sure I talk to them. We have a meal together. So they go to wrestling some days. Shout out to Apex Wrestling, by the way. But they go to wrestling, or they'll come with me. But we have a meal together, and we speak every single time. And then we do a lot of projects together. Like right now, we're doing this ninja gym. Like same thing. I'm involved with them. They have to help me build a ninja gym. We've been working on it and building it. It's something we've really worked on, and it's been, a big thing for the whole family. And the other thing I do is I cancel out time. So like, for instance, Wednesday's my off day, right? Everybody knows Wednesday I'm off from work, but Wednesday, everyone is off in my house. No one is allowed to do anything. No one's allowed to have practice on Wednesday. No one's allowed to have anything on Wednesday. So no matter how much of it, like my boys are preparing for states for wrestling. Nope, guys can't practice on Wednesday. We're home. Like that's it. Sorry. Like it's family time. Family's just as important as athletics. So by having that uninterrupted time, that helps me get the most out of it. And then on Sundays, same thing. We clear out Sunday evenings. Same thing. That's the time. But as far as like parenting goes, man, I don't know if there's anything specific like advice I could do. I mean, I'm sure I've made plenty of errors along the way. I do the best I possibly can. I love my kids. I try to spend as much time with them as possible. And I lead by example, and that's really it. I don't know if I could sit here and write a book and say I was perfect, because I yell at my kids get in trouble. My kids drive me nuts at times, I'm just like anyone else. But balancing is tricky. But like I said, it's much easier with my boys because they're with me all the time. But even that becomes a little bit, difficult because, there's several roles I have to play. Like there's, a coach is a different role than a father, and I got to play both roles. And the amount of time I spend with them is a lot. And it is tough to balance that, because if my kids do come off the mat and let's say, in jiu-jitsu or wrestling and they have a big loss, like, especially in jiu-jitsu where I'm coaching them, I can't console them because there's usually somebody else coming up in 5 seconds. Like I can't grab them and say, listen, man, that was awesome, but whatever, whatever, we talk it over. I can't. The next guy's up. Like I'll talk to them later, so they miss out on that moment where, they don't have that moment with their parent, where they could console them or anything. Cause it's like, no, I'm sorry, man, next man up. Like we'll talk later. And, so you do wear different roles that some people don't, recognize that you have to do. Like you can't be both both of those roles at all times. Like when we go to tournaments or something, the role is coach. It's not dad, and it's because we have other people there. When the car ride home, it becomes dad. I mean, I'll hug them and I'll tell them stuff, but I have the next man up. I can't invest any more time in you than I do the other guys.
Right, right. No, you are an awesome dad, man. You're definitely a great friend. I want to go back to social media, and you never were involved with social media, but now it's part of your life. What kind of habits are you using or doing right now to put that content out there, so people see it?
So I'm sure I still, like, again, I got, jiu-jitsu is all young guys, like, so I probably got some weak content, like compared to like what some of these other guys put out, but what I found best for me is I wake up in the morning, I put my kids on the bus, and I have a very short period of time where I'm free. And then that's usually where I'll put out like the social media stuff. And, we try to put out, promotions, people that are doing well, tournaments that are coming up, keep people updated with the gym, our hours on holidays, gear that we sell. So, social media has been really big for us as far as like bringing people in and keeping people updated, like how everyone's doing at a tournament, because, we go to tournaments, not everyone can attend, and they can go to social media very quickly and kind of see what the results were and how people did. And, so we've been using it, quite a bit for that. And, marketing as far as like, we'll show our kids program, what our kids are doing, what our adults are doing. And, people get to see it kind of like firsthand without actually having to show up at the gym. They can kind of see what we have going on.
Hey, we have Victoria. When is the next competition?
Oh, he's super tough, man. Her and her brother, I spent a lot of time. Some of these kids I spent a lot of time with. Victoria, and I saw Marcel on a second ago. I spent a ton of time with both of them. They, certain kids like you're with all the time. Like with these kids, I'm with them, 4 or 5 classes a week, and then I'm with them for 2 hours on weekends, for privates. So both Victoria and Marcel, very good students, fantastic jiu-jitsu practitioners, but awesome kids. So the next tournament looks like it's either going to be June 24th or June 25th. So
you heard it fresh right here.
That's right. There's a good fight on June 24th, and then there's a Grapplers Grand Prix on the 25th. But also, I know we have both Victoria and Marcel. We're trying to get them for super fights on the June 11th original Grapplers that I've really been looking for opponents for them. So
there you go. Now, I want to end on this because I want you to kind of sell us, why not karate? Why not go to boxing? Why jiu-jitsu?
For me, it's the greatest form, of self-defense, jiu-jitsu wrestling combination. The other thing is, I can't speak for karate. I really don't know too much about it. Boxing, I spent a lot of time boxing. Boxing's something, you can't do it very later in your life, like getting punched in the head repeatedly. I guess you could hit a bag, right?
Yeah.
But you can't actually get that physical hard training and hit each other, or you could, but, your brain's going to pay a heavy toll for it. Whereas jiu-jitsu, man, we got guys 60, 70. You could still do it. And this is something I know I could do forever. The other thing, too, is, like when people often ask me, like, why don't I have my kids doing, a ton of striking, live striking? And I tell them because I love my kids, like I love my kids and I love their brains. And, I love, all my kids in our program. I love those kids, like, and the last thing, I want them doing is just taking repeated shots to the brain. So you can do wrestling and you could do jiu-jitsu and you could train super hard and, you'll have an extremely valid form of self-defense. You'll be able to defend yourself against, pretty much anyone on earth without having to take traumatic brain damage, and it's funny because some people look at me and be like, oh man, I can't believe I have that stance. And I'm like, well, listen, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just telling you I like my kids, like, and, I'll teach them how to throw punches and strikes and kick and stuff. But, when it comes to like live sparring and beating themselves up, but, I'm not, me personally, I like my kids. Like, I don't want to see them getting involved and taking a lot of head trauma. And grappling offers a very close alternative. You could do jiu-jitsu and wrestling and train really hard. It's a very valid form of self-defense, gets you in great shape. And camaraderie, like these kids, like even if you see the kids at the academy, they're all super tight with one another, and you could do it for longevity. This is something that you can do into your 60s, into your 70s. We got a guy I'm telling you right now, man, there's a guy, Kenny. I doubt he's watching. I don't even know if he has social media, but some of the other guys will know. We call him Old Man Kenny, and this guy's north of 60. And I'm telling you right now, man, some guy starts a fight with him, like he's beating him up. Like, he's like an inspiration. This guy's 60 years old. He's strong as an ox, trains jiu-jitsu every day. And, that's how I want to be. I want to be 60 years old and still rolling around and still healthy.
So definitely something for males, females, for the older, young. It's definitely something to keep yourself active. And I want to challenge those that are all on this. We have a lot of people on, and they're all young. Help us out, get views. Let's get 1,000 views on this YouTube video within the next 24 hours. And it's all about sharing and helping and using social media. If you're watching right now and you're not part of the Academy, all this content information is in the description. Check it out. Give them a call. See if it's a fit. I don't know if you're running promotions. Can people come in to see what's going on for like a couple of days or something?
So we always offer one free trial. We're actually operating at full capacity right now.
So maybe you don't have any room.
So no, they got to reach out to us. We set up a trial. We're fortunate. We are literally at full capacity. Like we could take on some members. We're actually moving to a larger location. That'll happen this summer. But we are, so we always tell people don't just stop in. Make sure you reach out ahead of time because, man, the place is packed. Like it's really filled. And one thing I forgot to add about, jiu-jitsu is, all females should be training it because for me, it's by far the best form of self-defense for a female. Mm-hmm. And number two, all kids should train it, including my own kids, man. My own kids' life is easy. Like, these kids get up, they get breakfast, like, they go to school. Their lives are easy. Like, they're not challenged. Like, they're not out there hunting their food, they're not out there growing their food. They go to ShopRite, like their lives are easy. So what jiu-jitsu and wrestling does, it's a really, really hard thing. What it does is it forces them to have strife in their life and it forces them to have struggle. It's artificial struggle, but it is struggle. But I think everyone needs to struggle growing up. Like, you need to face adversity. And for most kids these days in modern society, there is no struggle. Their food is provided, clothing's provided. There's no hunting. There's no, there's hunting, but you know what I'm saying? Your life doesn't depend on it. Your shelter's already provided. So what it allows them to do is still feel the pain and struggle of combat sports. And to me, there's nothing like combat sports because you step out there, man, there's one winner and there's one loser. That's the only possible outcome. There's no other possible outcome than that. Like, there's going to be a winner and there's going to be a loser. And when you lose, there's going to be a lot of self-reflection. And when you win, there should be some self-reflection. But it's facing that hardcore struggle that I think prepares my kids for adulthood. And if they do face any sort of struggles as an adult, they will be very well prepared because most of us, their childhood is not going to prepare them for it. It's relatively easy. They have everything provided today.
Well said, man. Yo, you did fantastic. This is This flew. This is definitely, if you guys have questions, goes so fast. And I appreciate you taking some time out and everyone joining us. If you're on the replay, definitely wait till this upload so you can get from the beginning. Lots of value throughout this conversation. Dave, love you, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Love you too, Shawn. You're the best, man.
This is fantastic. And I'm hoping that everyone, if you get a chance, definitely, if you are just joining us now, again, watch it, but also share. Look at the description for all of Dave's contact information and all the opportunities I can offer you as well. Definitely check that out. And for everyone else that are just coming in, we hope you have an awesome rest of your day.
Excellent. Thank you guys, everybody from RGW. Love you guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow.